Hey guys, Steve Trarbridge here. So I'm here with my episode 3 review of Shadowhunters season 2. Um, so this episode felt like it was good, but I didn't feel like it was as strong as the last two episodes. That's just my opinion. And there was also something that I want to talk about that I'm not feeling that's just not really sitting right with me about one of the characters, but I'll get into that in a minute. So basically, we've got Alec, and he's like really weak and everything from the parabatai tracking thing that he did try to do with Jace to find Jace. And basically, throughout this whole episode, Magnus Bane is trying to help him. They've got Magnus Bane trying to help him like come back and everything, and he's just not waking up and everything. So they don't know if he's gonna make it. Obviously, everyone's pretty worried. Isabel's pretty worried and everything, and you got Alder Tree kind of just being the dictator of the place and everything. He wants Jace, and at one point he puts that one security guard or whatever, the guard, what's his name, Raj or something. That one dude, I think you know what I'm talking about. I can't remember what his name is exactly. I think it's Raj or something, but they put him in there to make sure they don't do anything or try to do anything suspicious, I think. And meanwhile, while that whole thing with Alec is going on, obviously the female werewolf that was killed is not Maia. I was informed that in the comments of my last review. It was not Maia, and Maia was actually introduced to this episode. So I've been wrong this whole time when I've been saying that that one with the white hair was Maia. So I apologize for that. If I misled anyone, I apologize for that. That was not Maia. Apparently, I don't remember what her name was though. I think it was said a few times, but I can't remember what her name was. But basically, the werewolves and Luke's pack. I'm assuming because Luke in the books, Luke is the leader of the Manhattan or Brooklyn pack or whatever. Yeah, Brooklyn pack or whatever it is. He's the leader. So a lot of the werewolves, including Maia, think that Jace killed her, even though it was actually Valentine. And at the beginning of the episode. Or at least somewhere in the beginning of the episode, we see Jace washing up on shore, and there's like this person that's like that dead. I believe that is what's her face, the werewolf that was killed. Because I thought it was Clary for a moment, but it was actually I believe it was the werewolf, the female werewolf. I can't remember her name. I apologize for that. So someone sees it, some person sees him lying next to a dead body, and they think, and obviously, like, she thinks that he killed that person, so he just runs off, and he runs into the bar that Maia is at, and this was kind of reminiscent of City of Ashes, because I believe there is a scene, it's been a while since I've read the books. I read City of Ashes, like, quite literally, I read it back in like 2015, so my memory is kind of blurry, but I'm pretty sure there was something that happened at the bar, and Maia was there too, and Jace and everything, so I think that did happen in the books, but yeah, Jace gets there, and that's when we're introduced to Maia, and you know, I like the actress that plays Maia. I think she's from what I can tell from this episode, I think she's a pretty good actress. It feels like Maia. I don't know. It feels like Maia from what I can remember of her character from the books. It feels like Maia, so that's good. So yeah, I like this interpretation of Maia so far, even though it's only been one episode. But yeah, basically the werewolf. A lot of the werewolves want Jace dead because of what they think, because they think he killed that one werewolf. And so it's for basically this whole episode, they're trying to hunt him down and kill him, and they nearly succeed several times, because at one point they all start fighting him in the bar, and Jace is trying to fight them off, and he does for like a few seconds, but then they like throw him out the window and everything, and he's like bleeding a lot and everything. And I believe they kind of injured him, which later on he ends up being in like a hospital, like a mundane hospital. Which I'm assuming he was unglamorized, because it seems like they wouldn't be able to see him anyways, but I guess he was unglamorized, so they were able to bring him into the hospital, or they found him, whatever. I'm assuming so. I think he probably was anyways, but I don't know, I was a little bit confused on that, but they brought him into the hospital, and then and soon enough, Luke and Maia come into the hospital looking for him. And early on, Luke probably knew, because Clary was trying to tell Luke, it wasn't Jace, it was Valentine, and he was like, I know, believe me, I know that the manipulation with Valentine and everything, and he said, if Jace really was the one to kill her, then I'll kill him myself and everything. But obviously it wasn't Jace. They find Jace at the hospital, and then they see him in the room, and the doctor is like, oh, but we still have to run some tests and everything on him. And then they go to look in the room, Jace is gone, and so yet another fight ensues, and he escapes them once again from the hospital, but then he encounters them once again towards the end of the episode. And finally, Luke gets them to stand down, and he's explaining to Maia, he's like, look, I didn't kill that werewolf, it was Valentine, I need to be there for my brother, obviously, in referring to Alec. So they eventually let him go after Luke steps in and tells Maia and the other werewolves to stand down. And one of the werewolves tries to attack him, but Isabel takes the whip and puts a leash on the dog with her whip and everything. And that definitely felt like an Isabel moment. That felt like something that Isabel from the books would do. So we basically had that whole thing with Jace and the werewolves the whole episode, which was pretty good. I don't remember if that was in the books as well. I don't think it was, but the whole bar scene again kind of reminded me of City of Ashes, because I think there was a scene similar to that in City of Ashes. So yeah. So we had the thing with Alec, and it was weird because Magnus, earlier on, he was saying, look, this isn't just you kiss the princess and then she wakes up or whatever. And then later on, he's like, I've tried everything, and then he actually does that, and I'm like, please don't have it to where Alec wakes up, because if they do that, that'll be so fucking corny and cheesy and lame. But they don't. I didn't think they were going to, but at the same time, the show can. But I mean, they didn't do that, so that's good. So we had that, and then we had this whole thing with Simon. He's still having trouble with Raphael, and he tried to find Camille obviously last episode, but hasn't found her yet, and talked to her and Raphael has wanted Simon to do. So Raphael still on to him about that, and Simon gets calls from his mom, and I was wondering when that was going to happen, because it seemed like we got Simon's mom and his sister in the last season, but then he became a vampire, and then it's they just kind of disappeared for a little bit. But we get some, we know that his mom is still there, so, and she starts she's been leaving messages on Simon's phone, so Simon calls her back and leaves her a message, and then he eventually goes to her house, and he finds an alcohol liquor bottle, and he's freaking out, because apparently, I don't remember if this was in the books or not, because again, it's just been a while since I've read the books, so I apologize for not remembering, but I don't remember if his mom in the books had a drinking problem in the past or not. But basically, he's freaking out because he feels like it's his fault that his mom might have started drinking again. So he calls Clary, and Clary is obviously really worried about Jace and Alec and everything. But she goes to help Simon, and then there's the scene outside, because they find Simon's mom at a coffee shop, and Simon is wanting to tell his mom about what's happened and what's happened to him, but he's really scared too, and understandably so. But Clary is saying, oh, this is your mom, she did all these things for you, she cares about you, basically. And so she has Simon convinced that he can tell her. But when he goes into the coffee shop and sees his mom, and they're all his mom is I've been so worried about you and everything, and then and then she's like, I know what happened, and he's like, oh, Simon's like, oh, you do? And then she's like, yeah, you've been on tour with your band and everything, and then Raphael comes out, and obviously he told Simon's mom that he is his manager for his band or whatever, And Simon's just like, oh, yeah, and then when his mom walks away to get him a drink because she notices that he's, like, cold and everything, he's like, what the hell, dude, you know, and everything, and then Simon's mom invites Raphael over to their house for dinner, so we'll have to see where that goes, but that can't be good. So obviously she has invited Raphael to their house for dinner, which can only cause more trouble. And yeah, so we got that whole thing, and I'm curious, like when Simon does tell his mom, is she going to react the same way she did in the books? Because in the books she just starts like freaking out and just like flipping out and basically just kicks him out, you know, which is pretty sad in the books. I don't know what they're going to do in the show. I don't know if they're going to do that in the show, but you know, and then later on Simon and his mom are back at the house and they're having a talk, and then Simon is saying, well, I'm just going to move back, you know, Simon's mom is like, are you going to move back in? And Simon is like, yeah, I just got to get my stuff together and everything. So I don't think Simon is going to tell his mom just yet about what has happened to him, but that's probably going to happen soon. I'm guessing, I'm going to say that it might happen at the end of this season, or maybe next season. I feel like they should wait a little bit before his mom finds out, but I don't know when they'll do it, but I'm predicting maybe like towards the end of this season, or maybe the beginning of next season, but you never know, they could do it sooner than that. So I'm kind of curious as to how that will go. So we had that, and I'm trying to think of something else that happened. Well, we had Jocelyn confronting Jace, and after that scene, I don't believe we really saw it. We didn't really see a whole lot of Jocelyn this episode, but we did, and we got a few scenes over here and there, but like we got this one scene where she confronted Jace. And the thing is that in the books, I know I kind of keep bringing up the books. I know the show is like completely different from the books, and I've explained that myself, but in the books, I don't think Jocelyn even really runs into Jace until after she has come out of her coma, and well, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't read the books, so I won't say that, but book readers, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm wondering how that's going to go, because I think she would have recognized, well, I won't say anything else, but for book readers, you know what I'm talking about. So but yeah, so there was that. Oh, and one thing, I think I mentioned everything. One quick thing I want to mention is Magnus. I don't know, like, Magnus did several things in this episode, and really just throughout the whole show, really, that I don't feel like Magnus would do. Like, the Magnus character in the show just feels very off to me sometimes, especially from book Magnus, because I don't feel like some of the things that show Magnus, I don't feel like Magnus in the books would do. Like, there was one scene where Jocelyn, well, we had another scene with Jocelyn and Magnus was, like, getting mad at her and saying, like, you know, Jocelyn was like, I just wanted to help and everything, and Magnus is like, oh yeah, you know, like, you, like, pretty much, everyone, what everyone else said to Jocelyn, everyone's freaking out on Jocelyn, and he's like, oh yeah, you just want to, like, you've helped someone, you know, he was basically just getting, like, mad at Jocelyn because of what was happening to Alec, and I don't feel like Magnus would do that. At least I don't feel like he would lose his cool that easily. At least I feel like he would be like calm and collected and in control. I don't feel like he would lose his cool that easily, especially with like Jocelyn, because I don't think that really happens in the book at all, from what I remember. And also there's a scene where they put that Raj guy, the security guard that I mentioned earlier, the guard in the room with Isabel and Magnus and Alec, and Magnus, like, forces him across the room with some type of spell and, like, forces him and slams him into the wall. And again, I don't feel like I feel like he would be protective of Alec, but I don't feel like that would be something that he would do again. Maybe he would, I don't know, maybe I'm not remembering stuff correctly, but I don't feel like he would do something like that necessarily, like resort to violence that quickly. Like, I feel like he would be calm and collected more and not lose control that quickly. But I don't know, that's just my opinion. I just feel like that's kind of off from the show Magnus and book Magnus. I feel like that's the difference. Those are differences or whatever, but anyways, I guess so we'll have differences like that, but I don't know, just something I've noticed. But anyway, I'm running out of time, so that's it for this review, and I will be back next week with the episode for the 4th review of Season 2 of Shadowhunters. So, hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll be back next week with the next review of the next episode. So, peace.